I want to start today by taking you back to a scene that pretty much everyone listening has experienced at some point.
Oh, definitely.
You know the one. You're at a family gathering. Maybe it's Thanksgiving or, I don't know, a graduation party.
Right. Loud room, lots of food.
Exactly. And there's a 12-year-old sitting at the kids' table, looking a bit bored, picking at their food.
Naturally.
And then, inevitably, a well-meaning aunt or uncle leans in and asks, the question.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
The classic icebreaker.
It's basically a reflex at this point.
Yeah. And for decades, the answers were, they were almost scripted, right? You'd hear astronaut,
Firefighter.
ballerina,
Yeah.
maybe veterinarian if they really liked the family dog.
Very safe, classic answers.
Right. It was cute. It was harmless. But recently, the script has completely flipped.
Oh, it really has.
If you ask a teenager that question today, you aren't getting those answers anymore.
No, the landscape has completely shifted. Now you're hearing influencer,
YouTuber,
esports athlete.
content creator.
Exact.
And look, I'm not here to bash those dreams. Those are real revenue streams now. People make a lot of money doing that.
They do. It's a legitimate industry.
But here is the tension, and it's kind of the massive invisible elephant in the room that we are wrestling with today in this deep dive.
And it's a big one.
While millions of kids are dreaming of being the next viral sensation, statistically 0% of them are standing up at that dinner table and saying,
I have a burning passion to become a logistics supply chain manager.
right. Or, I really want to be a renewable energy grid technician.
I don't think I've ever seen a grid technician action figure in the toy aisle.
No, you haven't, and you likely never will. But that silence, that gap between what kids are dreaming about and the actual machinery that keeps civilization running.
It is not just a funny cultural quirk.
No.
It is a structural failure.
A massive one.
We are looking at a generation of what we call the learner persona. People who are curious, they're capable, and they're ready to work. But they are essentially running full speed toward a cliff edge because their map of the world is wrong.
And that is the core mission of our deep dive today. We are unpacking this really fascinating, somewhat terrifying piece of research.
It is sobering reading, for sure.
Yeah. It's titled Bridging the Youth Career Aspiration and Labor Market Gap, and it's by Jonathan H. Westover, Ph.D.
And he brings receipts.
He really does. We're layering in data from the OECD, the World Economic Forum, and this really specific, revealing case study from Latvia's Education Accelerator.
And the goal here, to be clear, isn't to complain about kids these days.
Right. No get off my lawn energy allowed today.
None at all. Because what Westover argues and what the data heavily supports is that this isn't a failure of work ethic.
It's not that young people are lazy.
Not at all. It's a failure of information.
Okay.
We are dealing with aspiration-demand misalignment.
Aspiration-demand misalignment.
Oh.
Okay, it sounds like something an economist whispers to another economist in a dark room.
It does sound highly technical.
But in plain English, what are we actually talking about here?
At its simplest level, it is a measurement of the gap between the aggregate preferences of the youth population and the reality of the labor market.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. Imagine you have a town with 100 job openings.
Got it.
90 of those openings are for plumbers, electricians, and nurses.
Essential stuff.
Right. But you have 100 kids graduating high school in that town, and 90 of them want to be musicians or sports stars.
So the math just doesn't work.
It doesn't. That is high misalignment.
I would call that catastrophic misalignment.
Yeah, catastrophic is probably a better word for it. And for a long time, the prevailing economic theory to solve this was the invisible hand.
Adam Smith's idea.
Exactly. The idea was that the market would simply self-correct.
Right, if we need plumbers, plumber wages go up.
And eventually, kids see the money, they stop playing guitar, and they pick up a wrench.
But Westover is saying that mechanism is broken, or at least maybe it's lagging way too far behind.
It's incredibly slow, and in some specific cases, it's completely jammed.
Jammed how?
Well, Westover cites data from the OECD's PISA assessments.
And this covers a lot of ground, right?
Yes, 41 different countries. So we aren't just talking about one specific culture or one unique economy here.
It's a global phenomenon.
Very much so. And the data shows that adolescent career expectations are incredibly concentrated.
This is the top 10 problem I saw in the Source Notes. This part honestly blew my mind.
It is startling when you look at the raw numbers. Across these 41 countries, the vast majority of career ambitions cluster around just 10 occupations.
10!
Just 10.
Think about the complexity of the modern economy. I mean, we have thousands of distinct job titles.
Tens of thousands.
We have roles that didn't even exist 5 years ago. Prompt engineer,
Vertical farming architect.
telehealth specialist.
Exactly.
And yet the students are basically fighting over the same 10 vintage titles.
The doctors, lawyers, teachers, police officers.
And the new additions, the famed professions we mentioned earlier.
Right. It's like walking into the Library of Congress, which has millions of books, and every single person in the building is fighting over the same 10 copies of Harry Potter.
That is a perfect analogy. You've got this massive wealth of options, but everyone's crowded in one tiny aisle.
And this leads to what economists call the 50-10 split.
The 50-10 split, okay.
In many of the contexts studied in this research, over 50% of the student body is aiming for professions that employ fewer than 10% of the workforce.
Let's just pause on that math for a second.
Yep.
Half the population is trying to squeeze through 10% of the door.
It's a massive bottleneck. And that creates two simultaneous crises.
What's the first one?
On one side, you have oversupply.
Too many people for too few jobs.
Right. This is happening in the creative industries, media, sports, and certain beauty services.
Because everyone wants to be there.
Yes, and because everyone wants to be there, wages are often suppressed.
Because employers know they can just hire someone else who will do it for cheaper.
Exactly. Job security is virtually non-existent because there is always someone waiting in the wings willing to take your spot.
And on the flip side of this crisis,
Undersupply. And this is where the panic really sets in for economists.
this is the scary part.
We have massive, crippling shortages in energy, advanced manufacturing, and ICT.
That's information and communications technology.
Correct. And logistics. These are the sectors that actually drive GDP growth and literally keep the lights on.
I want to play devil's advocate for a second here,
Sure.
because I can hear a listener thinking, well, obviously, making video games is fun. Managing a supply chain sounds boring. Isn't this just human nature? Kids want the fun jobs.
That is the common assumption. Everyone thinks that. But Westover pushes back on that hard in the paper.
How so?
He argues that boring is a relative term. But more importantly, it's a result of ignorance.
Ignorance of what the job actually entails.
Exactly. Is managing a global supply chain boring? Or is it a high-stakes geopolitical puzzle where you are moving millions of dollars of physical assets against a ticking clock?
Okay, when you phrase it like that, it actually sounds like a complex strategy video game.
Right. The problem isn't that the work is inherently dull. It's that the work is invisible.
Invisible, that makes total sense. You cannot dream of a job you don't know exists.
Precisely. If a kid doesn't see a logistics manager on TikTok,
Which they won't.
no, they won't. If they don't see it in movies, if their parents don't talk about it at the dinner table, that job effectively doesn't exist in their universe.
Which brings us to the diagnosis phase of this deep dive.
Let's get into it.
Westover identifies several specific drivers for why we are in this mess. And the first one is exactly what you just touched on, visibility bias.
We live in a winner-take-all visibility economy.
A winner-take-all visibility economy.
The jobs that are the most visible influencer, pro-athlete, actor, are ironically also the jobs with the highest failure rates.
Right.
But because they are constantly visible, they completely dominate the mental menu of these students.
I really love that menu metaphor. It's like if you go to a restaurant and the menu only lists desserts, you're going to order cake.
Of course you are.
You don't know there's a steak available in the kitchen because nobody told you.
And you can't blame the child for ordering the cake. That's the key takeaway here.
We blame kids for making bad choices.
But we are the ones handing them a menu that only lists the impossible jobs.
That's entirely on us.
But it goes deeper than just media consumption. Westover uses Latvia as a primary case study here, and the data from their education accelerator reveals a massive systemic failure in guidance.
Let's talk about the counselors because, you know, in the movie version of high school, there's always that one guidance counselor who sits you down.
The Robin Williams type character.
Yeah, they look at your grades, they look into your soul, and they say, hey, you're great at math. Have you thought about civil engineering?
That is strictly the Hollywood version.
Unfortunately.
The reality in Latvia, and this mirrors many, many other regions across the globe, is that only 17% of students reported having individual conversations with a professional career counselor.
17%.
Yes.
That means 83% of students are essentially flying blind.
It's a complete vacuum. Now, the OECD average is a bit better. It's around 55%.
Still not great.
No, Even that means nearly half the students are navigating the single most important decision of their lives without a map.
And nature abhors a vacuum.
Exactly.
If a professional isn't filling that space with accurate data about wages and market demand, what fills it?
Narratives,
Yeah.
myths,
Huh.
whatever their friends are saying in the cafeteria.
And parents, right?
Oh, absolutely. Westover heavily highlights the role of parents here.
Because parents provide high social support, they love their kids, they want the absolute best for them.
But parents are often what the paper calls data poor.
They're operating on outdated software,
They're giving advice based on the economy they entered 20 or 30 years ago.
which is a completely different world.
A parent might push their child toward law school because, well, lawyers make money and it's stable.
Right.
They don't realize that the legal sector in their specific region might be heavily oversaturated today and facing massive automation threats from AI.
This connects to the teacher trap mentioned in the source, too. We expect teachers to double as career coaches.
Which is incredibly unfair to the teachers.
They already have enough on their plates.
Teachers are experts in pedagogy and their specific subject matter.
No.
They know how to teach calculus or history.
Right.
They generally do not track global trends in semiconductor manufacturing or green hydrogen production.
Why would they?
Exactly. So when a student asks a teacher, what should I do with my life? The default answer is usually academic progression.
Just keep going to school, get the next degree.
Right. You're smart, go to university. It's a safe, encouraging answer, but it doesn't actually connect the student to a specific occupational pathway.
It just kicks the can down the road.
Yes. And this creates stratification, which is the next major driver.
Stratification. Because if the school isn't leveling the playing field with solid career information, then your path is determined by who your parents know.
That is the tragedy of stratification. If you come from a family of doctors, you know the path to medicine.
You know the lingo.
You know what the job looks like day to day. You know exactly which classes to take, which internships to get.
But if you come from a working class background,
You might never have met an engineer in your life. You don't have the family network to see inside a high-tech clean energy facility.
you literally don't know it's an option.
So the rich kids with the professional parents stay in the professional class,
And the working class kids stay in their lane.
simply because of an information blockage.
That's heartbreaking.
It reinforces class divides, and it actively reinforces gender divides too.
How does gender play into it?
The data shows women are still massively underrepresented in ICT and engineering.
Not because of biological inability.
Of course not. But because the information loops around them don't present those options as viable or welcoming,
They aren't getting that specific nudge.
and meanwhile, men are avoiding health and care sectors for the exact same reason.
It's just a massive failure of signaling.
It is. Now, there was one statistic in the Latvia section that I know we both flagged.
Oh, about artificial intelligence.
The AI blind spot.
Yeah.
This is so critical.
It actually scared me. We are living through the biggest technological shift since the Industrial Revolution.
Without a doubt.
AI is rewriting the rules of employment in real time, and yet
Only 8% of Latvian students reported regular school discussions about AI's impact on work.
8%.
8.
That is, I mean, honestly, that borders on negligent.
It is reckless. We are sending millions of students into a tech-heavy economy without the instruction manual.
They don't know what's coming.
They don't know which roles are automation-proof, jobs requiring high human empathy, complex physical dexterity, or ethical strategy.
The stuff machines can't do yet.
Right. And they don't know which roles are highly automation-prone.
So a student right now might spend 4 years and $50,000 studying for a role that an algorithm will do better and cheaper by the time they graduate.
Exactly. They are betting their entire future on a coin toss because the school system hasn't updated its curriculum to reflect the reality of the machine age.
And this connects directly to the experience gap, too. You can't just read about a job, you really have to feel it.
This is the final nail in the coffin of the current system. Westover notes that nearly half of the students who actually wanted internships couldn't find them.
Because employers aren't wrestling them.
Correct. So we have a purely theoretical education system. Students learn about work, but they don't actually do work.
It's like trying to learn to swim by reading a textbook about fluid dynamics.
And then being absolutely shocked when you drown in the deep end.
Wow.
Without work-based learning, without actually tasting the job, students are forced to rely on abstract labels.
Give me an example.
Well, they like the idea of being a graphic designer. Sounds cool. Right.
But they don't know the grueling reality of client demands, endless revisions, and tight deadlines.
They just picture making cool art all day.
Conversely, they hate the label of manufacturing.
Because they picture a dirty factory from the 1800s.
They picture soot and dangerous gears.
Right.
But if they actually stepped inside a modern advanced manufacturing plant, which looks like a sci-fi lab, it's pristine and high-tech, they might absolutely love it.
But they never get that chance to step inside.
Never. So let's quickly recap the diagnosis here.
Let's do it.
We have a visibility problem, a severe guidance vacuum, an AI blind spot, and a total lack of real-world experience.
It's a perfect storm.
It really is.
But I want to pivot to the consequences for a minute, because I know listeners are thinking, why should I care? Maybe their kid is fine. Maybe they don't even have kids. What is the actual fallout here for society?
The fallout is what Westover powerfully describes as the ikigai crisis.
Ikigai, that's the Japanese concept, right?
Yes. It roughly translates to a reason for being.
It's usually visualized as 4 intersecting circles. Circle 1, what you love.
Okay.
Circle 2, what you're good at. Circle 3, what the world needs. And circle 4, what you can be paid for.
Passion, skill, need, money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The sweet spot, true ikigai, is right in the middle, where all 4 of those overlap.
Makes sense.
The problem with our current career culture, this whole follow your passion narrative, is that it focuses almost entirely on the first circle, what you love.
And maybe a bit of the second, what you are good at.
Maybe. But it completely ignores what the world needs and what you can actually be paid for.
So we're raising an entire generation to aim for a target that basically only exists in their heads.
We are, and that leads to what the paper calls the individual betrayal.
Betrayal is a really strong word, but reading through the source material, it actually feels appropriate.
It is entirely appropriate. Imagine the psychological cost here.
Put yourself in their shoes.
You are a young person. You did everything right. You studied hard, you got good grades, you followed your passion, just like every commencement speaker ever told you to do.
You play by the rules.
You graduate, and there is nothing there.
No job.
No stability. You are forced into precarious gig work or just flat-out unemployment.
That has to breed deep, deep cynicism.
It does. It shatters the social contract, and economically, it lowers lifetime earnings significantly.
Because they're starting from behind.
Right. It extends the school-to-work transition, meaning they start building wealth much, much later in life.
It's a failure to launch.
But it's not because the rocket was broken. It's because mission control gave them the wrong coordinates.
Man, that is a brutal way to put it, but it's true. And looking at the macro level, the cost to society as a whole, it's even scarier.
The numbers are grim.
The source cites a survey where 75% of European employers struggle to fill vacancies in ICT and engineering.
3/4 of all companies.
That is a stalling engine for the whole economy.
This is what economists call innovation drag.
Innovation drag.
Think about climate change. We have these massive, ambitious global goals. Net zero by 2050.
Huge undertaking.
We need to retrofit millions of homes, build massive wind farms, completely redesign global power grids.
And you can have the best technology in the world to do that.
The most efficient solar panels, the best battery storage.
But if nobody wants to be a solar technician,
If nobody studies electrical engineering because they all want to be influencers,
then the technology just stays in the warehouse.
and the planet keeps warming.
Wow.
The aspiration gap is actually a literal threat to our survival.
I hadn't thought about it like that.
There is a stat in the report that says a 10 percentage point reduction in this mismatch could increase GDP growth by 0.5% annually.
See, to a layperson, that sounds small. 0.5% sounds like a rounding error.
I know it does, but in economic terms, 0.5% annual growth is massive.
Compounded over time.
Compounded over a decade.
Yeah.
That is the difference between a stagnant economy and a booming one.
We're talking billions of dollars.
Billions. Money for healthcare, for infrastructure, for education. We're leaving all that money on the table simply because we aren't telling kids where the jobs are.
Okay, so the house is on fire, the diagnosis is clear, and the prognosis is really bad.
It is.
But the reason I love this specific deep dive, and this paper in particular, is that Westover doesn't just leave us in the ashes.
No, he is very solutions-focused.
The bulk of the research is actually about how we fix this. And he points to some very specific working models, Finland, Singapore, the UK, the DACH countries that are actually making real progress.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We just need to look at who is already rolling.
Let's start with the human element. If the core problem is a lack of guidance, who is doing it right?
Finland. Finland is often the gold standard in general education discussions, and for good reason here, too.
They usually are.
They take career guidance incredibly seriously.
What's the secret sauce over there?
Professionalization.
Yes.
In many countries, like we said, career guidance is just an extra duty tacked onto a math teacher's schedule.
Right.
In Finland, it is a highly specialized profession. These counselors often have master's-level training in psychology and labor economics.
Oh, wow. So they really know their stuff.
They understand the market deeply. And critically, they have a student-to-counselor ratio of about 1 to 250.
1 to 250. So the counselor actually knows the student's name.
They know the student, they know the family background, and they know the local job market.
That changes everything.
They can have a continuous, evolving conversation over years. It's not a stressed 15-minute meeting once a year where they just hand you a pamphlet.
It's an actual relationship.
Yes. They can say, hey, I noticed your grades in physics are up this semester. Have you seen this new apprenticeship program in civil engineering?
It's proactive, not reactive.
Exactly.
It seems like such a simple investment. Just hire the people who know the map to guide the kids.
It is simple in theory, but it requires serious funding and prioritization at the state level. You have to value the navigator as much as you value the teacher.
Right. Now, what about the branding problem? We talked about how logistics or manufacturing sounds boring to a teenager. How do we fix the PR for these necessary jobs?
This is where the UK comes in. They ran a fascinating campaign mentioned in the source called Not Going to Uni.
Not going to uni, that's the actual name.
Yes, it's deliberately provocative. It directly challenges the assumption that university is the only valid path to success.
I love that.
But the real genius wasn't just the catchy name, it was the visual framing.
What did they do?
They stopped trying to sell apprenticeships as traditional manual labor. They didn't show pictures of people in dirty overalls holding greasy wrenches.
Which is the cliche. What did they show instead?
They reframed the jobs around problem solving and innovation.
Interesting.
They showed sleek, high-tech environments. They showed young, dynamic people designing complex systems.
It looks cool.
Yes. They targeted high-achieving students, the ones who usually get pushed toward Oxford or Cambridge, and showed them that vocational routes can be incredibly intellectually challenging.
That's so smart. It attacks the stigma that trade schools are just for the kids who aren't smart enough for a traditional college.
Exactly. And the data from the campaign showed a 20 to 30% interest spike among those high achievers.
That's a massive shift.
It proves that kids aren't afraid of hard work or complex problems. They just want work that feels meaningful and prestigious.
Right.
If you change the story you're telling them, you change their aspiration.
Speaking of prestige, we have to talk about the DACH model. Germany, Austria, Switzerland. Whenever we talk about jobs and skills, the German model always comes up.
The dual system. It is the envy of the industrialized world.
How would it work?
In Switzerland, something like 2/3 of all youth enter an apprenticeship after compulsory school.
2/3. In the U.S., that number is tiny.
And in Switzerland, being an apprentice is not a consolation prize. It's the main event.
It's expected.
You can be an apprentice banker, an apprentice IT specialist.
It's not just plumbing and carpentry.
No, it covers almost everything. And it is highly permeable. You could do a hands-on apprenticeship and then go get a PhD later if you want.
So you aren't locked in forever.
Right. But the magic of the dual system is that it completely solves that experience gap we talked about.
Because they are actually working.
They spend 3 days a week working in a real company and 2 days in school learning the theory.
That's brilliant.
They aren't imagining what the job is like. They're doing it every week. They're translating abstract job titles into concrete daily tasks.
So they know very quickly if they actually like it.
And the companies are heavily investing in them from day one, so there is a direct, smooth pipeline right into full-time employment.
But Westover points out a challenge here, right? You can't just copy-paste the German system into, say, Ohio.
No, you can't.
That system is built on hundreds of years of guilds and deep cultural trust between unions, employers, and the state. What if you're in a country that just doesn't have that history?
That's where the Australian model becomes really interesting. They use something called industry school partnerships.
How does that differ?
It's much less centralized. The government basically funds brokers, local intermediaries, who specifically connect local businesses with local high schools.
So it's kind of a hack.
A very effective workaround. You don't need to rewrite the entire nation's labor laws.
Right, yeah.
You just need a solar company in Queensland to partner with the local high school for 1 semester.
It lowers the barrier to entry.
Significantly, it makes work-based learning happen at the grassroots level.
Okay, so that's the human infrastructure side of things. Better councils, better branding, practical apprenticeships. But we're well into the 21st century now.
Hmm.
What about the tech? How do we actually fix that AI blind spot?
We have to aggressively integrate AI literacy into the core curriculum. And I want to be very, very specific here.
Please do.
I don't mean just teaching kids how to code in Python.
Right, because the AI can basically write the Python code perfectly now anyway.
Exactly. Teaching basic syntax is becoming less important than teaching high-level strategy.
So what do we teach?
Westover highlights corporate initiatives like Microsoft's Digital Skills Program and PwC's AI for Schools. They are treating tech disruption as a standalone subject.
Almost like a survival class for the future economy.
Yes. They teach students to actively identify human skills.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, if an algorithm can diagnose a specific disease better than a human doctor, which is already happening, what is the doctor's actual job going forward?
It's empathy.
It's empathy, it's complex communication with a terrified patient, it's nuanced decision-making in ethically ambiguous situations.
The bedside manner.
Exactly. We need to teach students to double down on the things the robots simply can't do.
And also, I assume, how to actually work with the robot.
Hybrid skills. That is a crucial buzzword right now.
Hybrid skills.
You don't compete with the machine, you collaborate with it.
Give me an example of that.
Take accounting. The accountant of the future isn't sitting there crunching raw numbers in Excel. The AI does that instantly.
Right.
The human accountant is interpreting the AI's complex forecast to help a human client make a strategic, real-world business move.
That requires a completely different mindset than traditional bookkeeping.
It does. And schools need to teach that mindset.
That makes total sense. Now, let's talk about the big one, money.
Always comes back to money.
Westover mentions that sometimes the barrier isn't psychological and it isn't educational. It's literally just cash.
Basic economics works. If you want more of something as a society, you subsidize it.
Simple as that?
Canada has these apprenticeship incentive grants. They literally give you cash bonuses for hitting specific milestones in your technical training.
It keeps people motivated to stay in the pipeline.
It's a completion bonus. And New Zealand tried a fees-free policy for the first year of tertiary education and targeted training.
Did it work?
The evidence is incredibly clear. Targeted financial aid increases enrollment in high-demand technical fields by 30 to 50%.
That's a huge jump.
If you make it free, or better yet, if you pay them to learn it, they will come.
It seems so incredibly obvious. If society desperately needs more nurses, we need to stop charging people $50,000 to become a nurse.
Sometimes the simplest solution really is the right one. Take away the financial friction.
But the final piece of the solution puzzle might be the most abstract, yet arguably the most powerful: data.
Yes.
Westover talks a lot about democratizing data. What does that actually mean in a practical sense?
Right now, career decisions are largely anecdotal.
Like, my uncle is a lawyer, he drives a nice car, so I will be a lawyer.
Exactly. That is anecdotal data. It's a sample size of one, and it's highly skewed. We need to move toward distributed intelligence.
Moving from random anecdotes to actual hard market stats.
And we have the data. We already collected it. The U.S. has ONET Online. It's this massive, publicly funded database with granular details on over 900 distinct jobs.
It has salaries, growth rates, required skills.
All of it.
Yeah.
Australia has the labor market information portal.
But here's the obvious snag. Is a typical 15-year-old going to spend their Friday night browsing a clunky government database?
No, absolutely not. And that is the UI/UX challenge Westover points out.
User interface is everything.
Westover argues we need to make this data highly visual and deeply accessible. It shouldn't be a dry PDF buried 5 clicks deep on a bureaucrat's website.
It needs to be where the kids are.
It should be a slick app. It should be gamified. It should be seamlessly integrated into those professional counseling sessions we talked about in the Finland model.
You have to translate it for them.
Yes. Don't use terms like labor market elasticity.
They'll just tune out.
Say chances of getting a job, high, or likely salary after 5 years, X amount.
Make it concrete and personal.
Exactly.
So we have the blueprint.
We do.
We know what works. We have the Finnish counselors, the British PR branding, the German apprenticeships, the American databases.
The pieces are all there.
Why haven't we fixed this yet? Why are we still having this conversation in 2026?
Because of a systemic disease Westover cleverly calls pilotitis.
Pilotitis. That sounds painful, like Inflammation of the pilot programs?
You hit the nail on the head. We absolutely love pilot programs in education.
They look great on a resume.
A government will launch a little initiative here, a small grant over there. They run it for 2 years, take a nice photo for the press, and then
The funding runs out.
the funding vanishes and the program dies. We don't build permanent systems.
We're basically putting a Band-Aid on a wound instead of doing the necessary surgery.
Exactly. So Westover outlines 3 pillars for the future to finally cure pilotitis.
Let's hear them.
We need to move beyond pilots to permanent infrastructure. First pillar, recalibrating dialogue.
Meaning?
We need permanent standing councils where educators and major employers sit at the exact same table.
Not just at a once-a-year networking conference.
No, a formalized marriage. In the Netherlands, they have the SBB. It's an organization where business leaders and education officials decide together what actually gets taught.
So if the industry suddenly changes, the curriculum changes with it.
The syllabus isn't written in an academic vacuum. The employers say, hey, we desperately need skill X right now. And the schools say, okay, we will start teaching skill X next month.
That's pillar 1. What's pillar 2?
Pillar 2 is distributed intelligence, which we just discussed, making accessible data the absolute oxygen of the system. Every single decision needs to be data-informed.
Got it.
And pillar 3, continuous feedback loops.
This is the education accelerator concept mentioned in the source data, right?
Yes. It means rigorously tracking graduates after they leave the building. Do they actually get jobs in their field?
And if not, why not?
Exactly. And then this is the truly hard part, changing the curriculum immediately based on that feedback data.
That's tough.
Denmark has a system called Education Zoom that creates total transparency on this. It tracks graduates. If a specific university degree isn't leading to actual paychecks, everyone knows it instantly.
But that requires a level of institutional agility that most schools historically just do not have. Schools are notoriously slow beasts to turn.
They are very slow.
Right.
But Westover's argument, and it's a really powerful one, is that in the 21st century, education cannot just be viewed as a nice cultural good.
Right.
It has to be viewed as critical economic infrastructure.
Like highways or the power grid.
Exactly like roads. If the roads don't go where the people actually need to drive, you fix the roads.
You don't just put up a sign saying, good luck driving through the swamp.
You don't.
Huh.
That is a fundamental shift in perspective. It stops being just about helping kids dream.
And it starts being about actual nation building.
It's both. And I think that brings us back to the real synthesis of this whole deep dive.
Yeah, let's bring it home. We started this whole conversation at the Thanksgiving dinner table, the passion trap.
The idea that if you just do what you love, the money will magically follow.
And we found through the data that the passion trap is often a trap of privilege and really bad information.
It is.
The journey Westover describes is moving from that trap to something he calls informed choice.
And I want to be really, really careful here. I don't want listeners to think we're sitting here saying, don't be an artist.
Right. We aren't saying kill your dreams.
No, Westover isn't saying that either. If you want to be a musician, be a musician. But do it knowing the actual statistical odds.
Have a backup plan.
And maybe have a hybrid skill. Learn audio engineering so you can work in a studio. Learn basic copyright law.
Build a scaffold under your dreams so you don't just fall into the abyss.
Passion is great, but passion with a concrete plan is infinitely better.
And passion that meets a real societal need is the absolute best.
That is true, Ikigai.
It really is.
That leads me to the final thought I want to leave you, our listener, with today. We talked earlier about this concept of hidden heroism. This is honestly my favorite part of the underlying philosophy here. We are so conditioned to celebrate the visible heroes, the actors, the athletes, the influencers with millions of followers.
Because they're in our face all day.
But there is a profound hidden heroism in the jobs the world actually desperately needs.
Give me some examples.
The person maintaining the power grid during a freezing blizzard so the local hospital stays open.
The logistics expert figuring out how to get life-saving vaccines across the ocean.
The cybersecurity analyst quietly stopping a massive bank heist from their keyboard at 2 a.m.
These are the jobs people call boring.
But they are the vital jobs. And perhaps the real failure here isn't just in the school counseling offices, it's in our cultural stories.
We need to reveal the heroism in these roles. We need to make the invisible visible.
We have to. It's the only way forward.
So here is my challenge to you listening right now, whether you are a parent, a hiring manager, a mentor, or just someone looking at your own career trajectory.
Think about the advice you give.
Exactly. When you give advice to a young person, or when you plan your next move, Are you relying on old scripts? Are you suggesting the safe path that worked 20 years ago but might lead off a cliff today?
Or are you looking at the map as it actually exists right now?
Are you helping someone find their true ikigai, the intersection of what they love and what the world actually needs? Or are you just blindly telling them to follow their passion?
Because the real magic happens when you finally connect the dream to the reality.
Something to chew on before your next career conversation. Thanks for diving deep with us.
See you next time.